Minister, there are many in this chamber who found it difficult to stand and applaud foreign dignitaries when they addressed this chamber not so long ago. I am obviously not one of those people, nor are the majority of people on the government benches. That said, could you speak as to any additional sanctions that are likely to be considered here in relation to Belarus?
Thanks, Deputy, because it's important that this House focuses on Belarus's role in this war as well as Russia's, because they have been complicit in an awful lot of what's happened. The EU has condemned Belarus's involvement in Russia's unprovoked and unjustified military invasion of Ukraine. In response to the invasion since late February, the EU has adopted a wide range of sanctions measures targeting both Russia and Belarus. A sixth sanctions package is currently under discussion and is expected to be adopted in the coming days. These sanctions measures build on separate measures introduced by the EU following the fraudulent presidential elections in Belarus in August of 2020. Since October 2020, the EU has introduced a number of packages of Belarus sanctions in response to, among other things, unacceptable violence by the Belarusian authorities against peaceful protesters and the instrumentalisation of migrants for political purposes and hybrid attacks at the EU's borders. Significant restrictions have already been placed on trade between the EU and Belarus, in particular on goods used for the production of tobacco products, mineral fuels, gaseous hydrocarbon products, as well as potash, wood, cement, iron, steel and rubber products. Restrictions have also been imposed on exports to Belarus of dual-use goods and technology that might contribute to Belarus's military, technological, defence and security development. In addition, a range of measures target the Belarusian financial sector. 3 Belarusian banks have been removed from the SWIFT financial messaging system, and transactions with the Central Bank of Belarus are prohibited. Furthermore, limits have been placed on financial inflows from Belarus to the EU by prohibiting the acceptance of deposits exceeding €100,000 from Belarusian nationals or residents, the holding of accounts of Belarusian clients by EU central securities depositories, as well as the selling of euro-denominated securities to Belarusian clients. The provision of euro-denominated banknotes to Belarus is also prohibited. Lastly, a ban has been placed on the listing and provision of services in relation to shares of Belarusian state-owned entities on EU trading venues. The sanctions adopted since February 2022 include asset freezes and travel bans targeting 42 Belarusian military personnel. So what we're trying to do, Deputy...
Thank you, Minister. I suppose, look, Belarus's actions go back to, as you mentioned in your response, the fraudulent presidential election back in 2020, and a number of sanctions were placed at that time, and obviously subsequently their involvement in the war in Ukraine has led to further sanctions. I welcome all the measures that have been taken heretofore. I understand that we're working with our EU colleagues and partners in terms of the 6 packages, as you have mentioned, and I would just ask, I would implore you that, you know, as you have done in the past, to be fair, that Ireland is at the forefront of those sanctions, or calling for those further sanctions, and that those sanctions will be robust and deal severe consequences to Belarus. I note that the G7 met a number of days ago, and out of their discussions there was a further ban, I think, on palladium, potassium and other metals and chemicals. So I would hope that we follow in a similar vein, and we have, as I said, heretofore, so I just urge you that Ireland would follow up robustly.
Yeah, Deputy, there are many in this House have a knowledge and connection to Belarus, and I suspect you're probably one of them, as do I. Since the fraudulent presidential elections, I think the European Union has focused on trying to support and facilitate democracy in Belarus, and certainly since the facilitation by the Belarusian authorities of a Russian military build-up in Ukraine in order to facilitate the invasion of in Belarus in order to facilitate the invasion of Ukraine, I think also makes the Belarusian authorities complicit in what has happened. And so what we're trying to do within the European Union is ensure that whatever sanctions we're applying to Russia are also fully replicated in the context of Belarus, so that we can, as I say, create the maximum possible deterrent for the continuation of this war across both Russia and Belarus.
Yeah, Oireachtas Gormagut Era, and I suppose you echoed the sentiments I was going to finish on in relation to Belarus and its conduct, and I hope that it won't be forgotten the role that they have played in facilitating this war, because they have facilitated it at every corner, and they have facilitated the Russian regime, giving them a base for launching attacks and so on. I would also just urge that their government's actions won't be forgotten when this sorry tale is finally brought to a conclusion. And I hope that people here at home don't forget the actions of those that have, I suppose, facilitated propaganda on a European stage and been an embarrassment to this country. And I would liken Lukashenko's relationship with Putin's to Claire Daly, to Mick Wallace, in terms of their promotion of Russian propaganda. And I hope that that won't be forgotten here when this is all brought to a conclusion. Gormagut.
Yeah, thank you. Well, my focus, Deputy, is to do everything we can as a country and as a member of the European Union, as I say, to bring this war to an end, to promote democracy in Belarus, to ensure that the people get the government and the president that they elect, as opposed to skewed election results. And I think the only tools we have available to us for now are sanctions in relation to doing that, because Belarus is so reliant on Russia now for its own security that unfortunately I think this current Belarusian regime, certainly for now, is shackled to the decisions of the Kremlin. And so we have to treat both in the context of the deterrence that we're putting in place for the continuation of this war. Hopefully we can move beyond that in time when this war comes to an end. But for now, I think the focus has got to be on ending the violence and brutality that we're seeing in Ukraine, which has been, to a certain extent, facilitated through Belarus.